Hi guys, and welcome to DES 209. Sorry, just found out I'm teaching 116 next mod. So I know some of you will probably not be seeing me again. So this is kind of a bittersweet moment where I get to tell you all a fond farewell and a good luck. And don't forget where I'm at because you may need me later. The 209 is the highest class I teach right now. So yeah, tonight's kind of a bittersweet night.
Oh, wow.
No.
I'm gonna miss you.
I'm too.
You know, I will still be having my time in the Student Success Center, and I'll still be out and about in the 104 classes, and you guys will find me in the Facebook pages for the school as Master Payne. So, and depending on whether I decide to change my Derby identity again, I may just go back to terabytes. You never know. But yeah, I did want to say it has been a great honor and privilege to watch a good portion of you guys grow as designers throughout this last year. Some of you I've had way back in DES 104. Some of you I've had, I had 105, 103. Yeah. I've had a lot of you, and I've even got some students right now that are entering the bachelor's program who started out with me in APP 101, and they're finishing up this winter. So it's kind of a sad and sweet sorrow at the same time, because I'm really proud of you guys. You guys have come a long way since that very first design class, and when it's just been me seeing your work versus all of the instructors getting to see your work and the learning coaches getting to see it. So yeah, we hear all about all the trials and tribulations in the center, and you guys, they all hear about my trials and tribulations in the center, because a lot of the times we're not just tutoring graphic design. We have, some of them teach writing, some of them teach programming, some of them teach numerous things. The only other courses I personally tutor are the graphic arts courses, except for anything that has code in it. I do pretty pictures, not code. I can't tell the difference between a colon and a semicolon on my computer screen unless I blow it up 200 times. So I will never figure out somebody else's coding mistake. So it's just safer if I don't try, and saves everybody a migraine. But yeah, it's been a fast, furious year for several of you. And it looks like the grades are coming in and starting to look really good. I'm really happy with you guys. So you guys should all get to take a night off. Unfortunately, if we take the night off, you won't get to see the demos on how to do this week's assignment. And I do have a PowerPoint on these, where are they? The rules of composition, which are those 7 other design principles that we learned this month. I thought we might go over those before we get too wrapped up in going further, because I have a feeling you're going to be on the week 2 assessment, which I did set out for everybody to take twice if they needed it. So if you have taken it and you don't like the grade you're seeing, take your opportunity before Saturday and go retake it. So you'll have some fun with it. I know you will, because you'll be prepared for it. So the 7 basic rules of composition, which, you know, honestly, I wish there was an acronym I could get for that, or a mnemonic device. I did get a notice that you'd taken your second one, Christy, and I'm glad it paid off. So, composition. It's that whole art of arranging and designing placement, putting it together that makes everything look like it's supposed to. I kind of tend to refer to it as organized chaos, because You guys have seen, live streaming video of my office. That counts. I know where everything's at, sort of. But then I look at my computer, and on screen, everything is meticulous. I know where everything's at. I know where to go find it. And if I do lose it, I can always tell Finder to go find it. But it's that conscious thought of how it's put together, how we want to draw the viewer's eye in, how do we want it to direct it through the piece. It's also thought of as organization according to the principles of design, which is crap. In the visual arts composition, we use it interchangeably with design, form, visual ordering, hierarchy, formal structure. Hierarchy is one that you're going to hear loud and clear at Independence University. Why do I know this? Well, because I've been on your shoes. And two, it is most definitely thought of in different terms at different schools and in different areas of the country. So if you're in an art community, say in San Francisco, they're going to call it design or form. Go figure. If you're in Greenwich Village in New York, Lord only knows what it's going to sound like. But then again, I'm in the middle of Wyoming, and I grew up in Oklahoma, and I can have a deep South Texas drawl when called upon. And unfortunately, right now, I sound like I belong in a man's voice right now. So hopefully I will be better this weekend. It'll be great. So the 7 rules of composition, staying out of the dead center. We stay out of the dead corner or out of the corners. We don't focus on them as a way to bring the viewer's eye in. Don't use the edge of the paper as the line. That is not your margin. That is the actual edge of the paper. And if you were drawing like that on a real piece of paper, on say a really nice white laminate countertop with a Sharpie marker on the edge of the paper, that's what's going to be all over that bright white laminate countertop that you can't sand out of. So yeah, be careful with that. We don't want Sharpie marker all over the computer either, just saying. So use cropping creatively. Creative cropping can make up for a world of mistakes. And I'll show you some examples of that when we get into the InDesign demo. You can use it to fill the entire space. You've got to have a center of interest, but it doesn't always have to go in the center. Put it to the right or to the left, the top or the bottom. Make it so that it has an intentional placement that is you directing the viewer's eye. Think of it as you holding your finger on each letter of a book when you're learning to read. And we had to train ourselves with that finger for Spot had the ball, see Spot run. And yes, I did teach my children how to read out of the See Spot book. So precocious that kids ran into my book collection. But we all use those devices to keep us on the right line. Well, in the design, we're going from reading it on the right line and making sure we're not skipping a line to directing the reader's eye. We're now the tool that the reader is using to put us through that line. Does that make sense? It sounded good in my head, which would be strange because nothing sounds good in my head right now. Am I still here? Okay.
Yes,
Good.
ma'am.
Oh, that's good. I was beginning to think maybe I'd fallen off the internet or something. Use odd numbers like 1, 3, and 5 rather than 2, 4, and 6. The reason for that is because they have an asymmetrical balance, which tends to give us a little bit more hierarchy. Zeke's logo last night with the triangle, and then the thick text on the bottom, the middle text in the middle, and the thin text on top, that's using the odd numbers and creating that asymmetrical balance. It looks like it's the same, but because it's 3, it's different. I'm really beginning to think this is sounding better in my own head. Okay, so this is staying out of the center only. They don't just frame up in the center. Oh, I get to make science now? Great, Zeke. Science experiments very rarely go well in this house. And occasionally art projects don't go over so big either when shaving cream and food coloring is involved. Fun, but it's a mess to clean up. Staying out of the dead center, we've got the kid here in this painting. He's tilted to match the quilt angle, but he's not right here in the dead center. And our focal point of interest is this right here. It starts moving off into the shadows this way, all because of our light source. These are ones that are in the dead center. And if you folded them in half, you're going to get a mirror reflection almost every time, or very, very close to a mirrored reflection. It's going to divide evenly. We talked about the golden mean, that wonderful perfect mathematical proportion of squares and rectangles. Don't forget, Donald Duck had just as much trouble being mathematically sound or perfect as I do, even if round is a shape. Stay out of the corners. And it's okay to start in a corner, cut off, make a column. Don't just stay to the corners because you've got a whole lot of implied shape right here and an implied square here that's completely empty. What are we going to do with it? That's part of that whole composition thing. Staying out of the corners. Van Gogh, don't ask me to say that one again. He was very good at highlighting things in bright, bright yellows against these blue starry skies. And for a man who saw things in a world of beautiful, beautiful color, to have his mind clouded with such depression, it is even more astounding to me that he can make such bright and beautiful scenes with as much mental turmoil and anguish and depression as he lived with. So Van Gogh is really famous for that. If you guys get the chance, take a look at Salvador Dali, D-A-L-I. He is a Spanish artist, multiple disciplines, bright, precocious man who also had issues with getting it together. So I'm thinking that that is a byproduct. The artistic eye is a byproduct sometimes of the mental anguish we are suffering, and it gives us a place to focus it, whether we're ready to make nice with it or not. So just because my box of rocks may not be completely full does not mean that I'm going to keep it from, let it keep me from doing something I love, regardless of whether anybody else likes it or not. Any of you guys ever seen the melting clocks? Yeah, let me double check that. I had to do a paper on Yeah, Salvador Dali is the one that had this wonderful, I don't know if I would call the mustache so wonderful now, but he would spend hours forming this mustache well up until the day he died. And to him, that mustache was, sorry, gonna have a coughing spell. Anyway, he's famous for the melting clocks and some very, very odd pieces, I guess you would call them. They are some of the most unique pieces I have ever seen. And every time I look at some of his work, I see something different. YouTube has I mean, see here, right here, we can think of him as the original Joker. But he did wonderful costume designs, architecture, implied shapes from other shapes. So yeah, you guys cannot look at some of this work and tell me he had all of his rocks in the same box. But he was also a really good friend of Picasso's. In fact, I believe at some point they were in the same art school together. So if you get the chance, go look him up. And there's also set designs that he did, like Saul Bass. He did set designs with Alfred Hitchcock, I think. So he's definitely one of those eyes that you should be keeping on. Granted, he's not going to have anything new because he has passed away. But if you ever get to Spain, go see the Salvador Dali Art Museum. It's on my bucket list. He's definitely got a lot of flair in that style. And he lived in his museum until the day he died. And he was very, very good friends with Walt Disney. In fact, if you were to Google Salvador Dali and Walt Disney, you will see or come and find a video. I'm not going to play it tonight because it's too long. There's a couple of interviews on him in here, but there's a video that they started in 1945, at the very end of World War II. It was not put out for public dissemination until 2003. And I'm not going to play it, but I do want to be able to share the link with you guys. Because it's a very surreal kind of video. And the fact that audiences in 1945 were not thought to be as visually open-minded as they are in 2003 and beyond. That is the reason they did not publish that video. It was never sent out in the Disney Sillies, never produced in the Disney video library. So I'm not even sure you can buy it on a DVD or an iTunes video right now. But the music alone in there is very thought-provoking, and so are the images. And Salvador Dali's style is quite a bit more risque than would have been allowed out for the general public in 1945. Because I do believe that was 1945 to 48 when the comic book code started coming out. And, you know, there are all these post-war wives looking for something to regulate their children from seeing. But in some semblances of that, I can understand it. But then again, I take my children to go look at Charlie Russell at the Western Museum. So I tell them to forget Frederick Remington. Go look at Charlie Russell. His people are more believable. Okay. So not staying out of the corners. If we're not in the corners, we've got to avoid pushing the viewer out of the page with our directions. So this guy, he takes one eye out, comes back, takes one eye out, comes back. Same on the bottom. And we've got 4 implied triangles somewhere in here. Kind of looks like somebody took some candy cane or candy corns and put them all up together and squished them into a pyramid. This one's got a very nice focal point. However, because of the cropping, we don't look down, we look up, and there's a hand going off in the edge of the screen. Now, the heels and the toes are pointed towards the left side of the screen, but our words are reading to the right. So if we just flopped the legs, just reflected them, kept the text the way it is, and flipped the legs, then the text would be leading you off the page with the pointing of the toes. So there's some easy fixes to that, and sometimes there aren't so easy fixes. But it's always best if we try to take that either actual pencil or the actual pencil. I'm sorry, guys, I lost my thought. I was trying to cough and it hurt. I can't even remember now. It's gone. Okay, this is what I meant by using the edge of the paper. See, if we tried to use these together to try and paste this up, we're either going to end up with glue coming out the edge, or we're going to end up trying to create a straight line, and it's all going to get cut off anyway. So we got to watch that. We always got to set it back a little ways to give it some breathing room. Also known as the live area, your margins. You may hear of it referred to as in a couple of different ways as you go through the program. So this is not using the line, edge of the paper for a line. See, this house is just cut off here at the corner. We don't know if there's anything important going on over here. Some creative cropping though, straight down the middle, and we've got the asymmetrical balance of the trees where we can focus on versus this huge amount of brown that's taking up the vast majority of the space. So here's another one. It's not using creative cropping. If you're using a picture with a shape and you're filling it, and I'll show you how to do some of that tonight in design. If you draw that off the edge of the page, that's going to give you some creative cropping techniques to use. So for cropping, it's going to extend the range of the picture, and it makes us use our imaginations more as to what we feel like might be going on in there. It's open to interpretation. And, you know, it took me, I would say a good 6 months of looking at this picture on an at least weekly basis before I realized that these were boats. That's how much my mind was wandering at the time. I didn't see the boats. All I saw was the water crashing. Well, what's it crashing onto? Mount Fuji in the background? I don't see anything else. It was one of those stupid 3D images that you have to stare at just right for it to come popping out of the screen. I can't make those work either. Just made no sense to me until a professor pointed out to me that these were boats with rice as their cargo. Yeah, apparently he'd seen the original in Japan and got to have a full museum guide through one of the art museums. Okay, so now we go into the photo. Dolly Madison. I'm not going to say the word. I promised Amanda we would not be saying the word today. But we have the luncheonette, and it's kind of leading you to the church steeple. And then we come down here a little bit, we see the red car, and it's pointing down there. So it's all kind of leading us to wonder what's going on past the church on this main street. Not cropping at all. It's all inclusive. There's nothing left to the imagination. It's boring, like a professor's monotonous monotone when they're doing a lecture talking to themselves. And the lower I go, the more you guys are drifting off to sleep. I hear snoring out there. Mic check. Okay, no snoring. Good job, Lucia. Sorry, I cannot pronounce words today that I'm seeing. It's been a long day. The good news is because we went 15 minutes over yesterday, we get to stay 15 minutes less today. So I'll be aiming for an 8 o'clock end time tonight, guys. If I'm missing it, somebody needs to hurry me up along. And Lee's not here, so Zeke, it's your turn.
Got it.
Okay. So filling the space. If you're going to fill the space, fill it creatively and make sure that whatever you do, you're not changing the proportions of your original image. Crop it, yes. Resize it, yes. Squish it one way or another, no. We got to maintain the integrity of the art that we're showcasing. So filling the space. We've got another one of Van Gogh's here. This is the Starry Night. And does anybody remember this painting from an episode of Doctor Who? If not, you have to go look through the Amy Pond years. Number 10s. Yeah. No, number 11. Yeah. This was a church cathedral in the Doctor Who video. And you could see the TARDIS floating around here in the background as one of the stars. So, yeah. My daughter actually had a dress from Hot Topic. Might have been Spencer's or Hot Topic had the dress with the Starry Night theme Doctor Who pattern all over it. And it took me a good year to get her out of that in the TARDIS dress. So, teenagers. And the mothers that buy them ridiculous things like that for their birthdays. Now we're filling space creatively with the pairs. And while I'm thinking of it, did anybody see the GIF in today's announcement for class time? No. Oh, I'm wounded. Who's that? Anybody remember? Can anybody take a wild guess? Oh, Zeke, my friend, you are missing a very, very funny anime called Assassination Classroom. And it's about a mutant professor teaching junior high. Yes, Assassination Classroom. All or both seasons are now streaming. Yeah, I have not seen the ones on Netflix. I have seen them all on my Crunchyroll. I'm still trying to catch up with season 2, even though my niece was trying to give me spoilers on it all through Christmas break. Yeah, it's very cute. They take he's training the students to take every advantage of trying to kill him before he can wipe out the world. And strangely enough, it makes the poor performing students get much higher grades because they get to kill the person who's trying to teach them new stuff. And they all have to learn about figuring out the angles because they're learning trajectory of which direction to aim from, throw the knife from. The volleyball can be deadly. I was convinced of that anyway because for some reason that ball always aims for my head. Of course, then there's basketball, football. Yeah, if it has a ball in it, I'm not playing. If it's got a stick and a puck, I'm there. You just have to push me around in a chair from now on. Okay. Again, another example of not filling the space. I have a tendency to do that when I'm talking lectures to myself. I forget where I'm at and forget to cover topics because nobody tells me to turn my screen back on. Having a center of interest. So even if the center is only taking up 2 points in that page and the rule of thirds, you're doing good. That's what it's supposed to work. So the center of interest here, guys, what do you think it is? The fish. You know, I was convinced the first couple of times I was sat here looking at this picture that the ones on the floor weren't actual fish, that they were socks. And the bed and the people would be what we would normally think of as the focal point. But the bed and the background are the same. And the people match some of the fish. So depending on who you are, that focal point is going to change. Not having a center of interest. Without having a center of interest, we end up focusing on the dog's butt. Now, this is what my life looks like right now, only it's a cat butt. She keeps climbing onto my shoulder to show me how pretty her tail is. This is not how we want to see the world, people, not through the butt. Just saying. You can creatively crop this, have a negative or an odd number of trees over here. I sent the cat to sleep with the husband. So maybe if we're lucky, they'll stay that way all night, all 4 of them. But if we did some creative cropping to this page, move the ground or the horizon line up a bit, it's going to give us far more visual interest than the dog butt. And then we have this image here, which I think is showing some grapevines. I'm not sure because it doesn't tell me where the picture's from. I can't see who it is. But it's also pixelated. Yeah, but if we crop it so that the butt's not in the picture anymore, if we just highlight this section, we have a much better idea of what's going on than if we highlight the dog butt. Odd numbers are more visually appealing. They give us more visual interest than even numbers. Even number is just playing tic-tac-toe in the corners of your rule of thirds. And now I know that sounded way better in my head than it did coming out. This is why Grandma keeps losing at tic-tac-toe. Okay. We have one tree versus two matching trees. We have 3 dandelions. We have 3 light posts or 1 obelisk. Well, maybe 2 if we count the one in the back there, but I think that's the Eiffel Tower and not an obelisk. But we've got 1 tree, 2, 3. We've got the sun and a cloud. So if we keep it even, they look unnatural, almost like they're staged. But the odd ones, they have a better shot getting some visual interest going in there. And depending on who you are, this one is debatable as to whether or not it's an even number. I see 3 tree trunks here and 2 here. But knowing the way trees grow in Wyoming, this could all possibly have the same root system because they're all stealing water from each other. So that is my rules of composition. And your advanced composition guidelines, we're just going to go through these real quick. These are the ones that you're probably going to see on your test. So you've got your rule of thirds. You guys know it's circling 2 on any path to get that. Notice where the difference in the horizon line is when you're cropping it for the rule of thirds. Lines, diagonal lines, they help keep your focal point and create a path, sense of depth. S-curves. S-curves are always more fun than a stick in the mud, which this is a flamingo. He's being a stick in the mud. This one is far more interesting because we can see the S that he's creating. Triangles, geometric shapes. This also lends to that asymmetric balance and helping to lead the eye. Now, this triangle here, when you take into account the reflection, they've got perfect balance. If they fold it in half, you'll see the same thing. But because one is a reflection and one is not, it balances out better. Simplicity. You got to tell us what to focus on. Are we focusing on the naudifungus, the cactus, or the succulent, whichever one? Or are we focusing on the bridge? And you see how it can change just by zooming in on something and making it a focal point. Simplify your pictures and strengthen the center of interest by moving closer to your target. Sometimes that's as easy as just zooming in and zooming out, and sometimes you actually have to make the trek to get a better angle. And sometimes that has people handing you a ladder because you're just too short. Does your subject matter fit better in the horizontal landscape or in a vertical landscape? Now, I'm going to say the portrait landscape, vertical, because our mountains are vertical. If we had more mountains coming across this way and finishing off over into here somewhere, then yeah, we could go for a horizontal one. But right now, there's just not enough outside of that range for us to pick up on. Yeah, mountains. Haha. Which one is better, do you think? Left or right? Exactly. Our model is vertical, so we need to make the picture fit the model. It does get a little hard because sometimes beauty's all in the eye of the beholder, right? And that's kind of where graphic design veers away from art. If it's art just because we say it's art, we can automatically count it as a success. But if graphic design is considered art, yeah, because there's rules. And a lot of those rules, whether we like it or not, don't necessarily come from our CRAP principles or our advanced composition guidelines. They come from clients who may or may not know what they are asking for. But my general follow through for that question is what makes a design versus art is the fact that somebody paid me for it. 2, it was done to their guidelines. And 3, they don't want my name anywhere on it because they have paid me for the rights to use that piece. It's their project. I just did it. I can ask for a work resume and I can keep the rights to use it as part of my portfolio. But 75 to 90% of the time, I am going to be signing those rights over to my client because that's what they paid me for. If I'm doing a pro bono, no. They don't get to keep the rights. They have to pay for those. So don't crop in awkward places. I mean, right here, this poor whale is going to get accused of biting his hand off. And it's a humpback, not even a killer whale. So let's not cut off hands and feet and so on. We can always focus in on the whale's nose with the buoy. Far better than we can over here with this guy. We don't want to focus on him. We want to focus on the whale. I don't know about you guys, but I like being able to see the horizon line and a whale nose. Although if you are going to be going whale watching, don't stand close to the outside of the edge of the boat when they surface. You're basically whale Kleenex. Oh, it was awesome. It was the whale snot I had issues with afterward. Yeah. You can't get that smell off on a cruise ship. It follows everybody. Yeah, that was the one time I got to see humpbacks was on a cruise to Alaska for my honeymoon. I haven't been on a vacation since, but it was well worth the time. Okay, so choose an unusual view. I know I sent you guys most of these slides, and well, Christine, tell him he owes you a cruise for graduating college. That's what you want. Oh, Elizabeth, that hurts. Oh, Melissa, that's a good one. Can't say paying good money to have an animal possibly blow their nose on you. That is so awesome. And it hurts so bad to laugh. Oh, it's like taking the kids to the zoo to see the camels and say, ooh, watch out, they spit. What are you guys going to do without me next month, huh? You're going to have to sneak into my lectures or something just to say hello and get a bad joke refresher? Okay, so we are now officially done with Death by PowerPoint. Who wants to learn Adobe Acrobat first, and who wants to learn InDesign first? Okay, get Acrobat out of the way. Acrobat's probably the easiest one of all. And you see that I have two files open. I'm going to open a couple of more just because this is the quick way. That's okay, Amanda. I will still be posting the lecture. And hopefully for once, YouTube and I will not be arguing tonight. But I will get them posted as soon as I can. So, Adobe Acrobat. I have Adobe Acrobat Pro DC up. This is where I grade all of your papers at. The cool thing about this program is that I can use it to create a multiple page PDF. I can use it to create a PDF portfolio that has some navigational tools in it. And it will read Illustrator and Photoshop documents just as well as it will a PDF file, which is a post markup document file, I think. Package document file, that's what that is. I can remember that, but I couldn't remember the first sentence from class tonight. Go figure. So what I can do here is I can go into Finder and I can open with Adobe Acrobat, and I can even go into my Finder and say I want to pull things from DES209. And I want to pull my creative brief. I want to open that. I'm just going to double click on it. And then I've got a bad mock-up. Got a really nice bottle mock-up. And I got a really cool flash drive. Now I've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different PDF files open. And yes, I can tell I need to play with my masking a little bit here. Color's not quite right. But all I have to do is go to File, Create, Combine Files into a single PDF. And if I click Open Files, it's going to create a document with all of these files in it while keeping these files open. So I just add the files. And this tells me it's got multiple pages to it. And I'm going to take the one with my cover sheet and I'm just going to rearrange it. Then I'm going to have my creative brief. Then I'm going to have my, actually it's going to go your cover page, your final paper, your creative brief, your references, your mock-ups, your magazine ad, your social media banner, and anything else that is required on the assignment. So when I'm all done with it, and I've got everything loaded in here, or oops, I need to go add some more files, I can come in here and I can tell it, oh, well, I need that, and I need, that logo. What else could I possibly be needing? DES209 week 1 and pull out my logo creations. See, it's an Illustrator document, takes it just fine. It's only going to give me one page of it, but that's okay. That's all I need right now. If it still does it to you, you can still export each page as a PDF. And I believe we have that. That's the recovered one. Where? Okay, so this is kind of what it's going to look like. I just put that PDF in there. And I'm going to turn combine everything. And when I hit Command 0, it now tells me I've got 95 pages. But I have my bags, my bottle, my hoodie, extra paper, my mock-ups. And now here's where it starts to get a little hinky, and why I keep, ranting and raving to use InDesign is because my mock-up pages are different sizes. See the huge difference in that? Compared to an 8.5 by 11 sheet, that's the size of my USB mock-up. Makes it really hard to navigate a PDF file when you're having to change the size of your paper to go back and forth to 100%. Now, if I were to make this 100%, look how big. It's massive. No, you can go ahead and use this. It's just, I want you guys to be aware of this issue. Yeah, we're going to go through InDesign too. We're just getting Acrobat out of the way, because I know some are going to be using this. Some of the FPAs prefer this method over InDesign to a PDF. And some of us prefer it this way. So it's all in how you can be able to deliver your product to your client. Okay, guys, we're gonna have to take a coughing break. I will be right back. Don't eat all the cookies without me. Okay. Are we all back to rocking and rolling now? Awesome. Okay, so now I have the binder that we created. All I have to really do is go in here and say File, Save, and name it with our naming conventions. I can put it in the cloud, my Adobe Acrobat Cloud with my Creative Cloud account. I can save it to my computer. I can add it to my Marketplace downloads. I can add an account, and it will accept my OneDrive. It'll accept my Dropbox. Unfortunately, Adobe and Google are not getting along, so we don't have the ability for Google Drive. However, if you are using Microsoft 365 and you have a OneDrive account, that's what this one goes to. So I'm just going to save it to my computer. I'm going to make sure it goes into my downloads folder, or at the very least, so I can choose this. Go to my 209 file, save it to my week 4, and week 4 underscore. Now, does anybody know why we have this ridiculously strange and complicated naming system? Yes, it does let the instructors know which class it came out of and who its author is. But if I download them all at one time anyway, you guys already, the system already tells me that. But why, do you guys happen to have any idea why this is a benefit to you as a student? Or do you find any benefit that you've noticed? Yeah, for working with clients, it's pretty cool. But I'm going to give you a little bit better demonstration of why this is important. And it does let you keep up with work better. However, there is this really cool feature in Finder that's called Search. Now, because I have DES209 in the front of all of my important emails, assignments, anything that contains the words DES209, any of those combination of letters, it's going to show up. And yes, you guys all got a lot of emails sent to me yesterday because you were participating. But when you get to about 2 miles away from finishing your associate's program and you're going into your portfolio class, your FPA is going to ask you what you did with all of your original files, all of your native files. And your eyes are going to glaze over and you're all going to be thinking that wonderful 4-letter word. I knew I should have saved that. Oh, I had to change out my hard drive. Everything died. What am I going to do? This is why we have Google Drive, Creative Cloud, Dropbox. But the cool part is, if it's in your Google Drive, like mine is here, and I have anything in Google Drive that matches DES 209, tells me I have my Mod 9, my instructor learning coach checklist. That's what I have in my Google Drive. If I look in Independence under 209, and just click this file name, it gives me everything that has any reference to 209 in it for the past 4 years. So even if I don't know what the name of my file was for that class, but by being able to have that designation DES209 for the class name on the file, I can then go pull out all my native files, adjust them the way that I need to, and move on without having to have the hyperventilating, claustrophobia, panic-inducing hot sweats that I'm going to completely and utterly fail because I lost my files. And if you guys think this is no joke, yeah, I had to have my hard drive replaced in my MacBook 2 mods before DES250 started. And if Craig Stokes, among others, had not been hounding me to keep track of where and keep extra copies of my native files, I would have lost everything, because not only did my computer's hard drive go out, but when it went, it took my external hard drive storage time machine with it. So I lost 18 months of work down the drain. So there were a few pieces I did not get to go through and revamp because it was going to take me too long to retypeset everything, because several of the projects were in Illustrator and were turned into outlines for all the text instead of my keeping a copy on the pasteboard. Yeah. So do as I say, not as I did. And you guys will be sitting ready to finish out the course at DES250 with all of your native files, instead of having to, say, open a PDF file with Illustrator and pray that it doesn't convert all of your text to outlines like it did right here. Oh, look, let me keep one of them so I know what font that is now. So that is probably the most pertinent reason you guys would want to follow through on this naming convention thing. I know it seems like such a little thing to be worried about at this junction in your life, but I'm never going to stop harping on computer organization. It's a fact of life, guys. Sorry. But if you come to me and you say, Professor, I've lost my native files. Do you happen to know where I would have a copy of them? I might be able to help depending on how far away from 250 you're left and how far out of my classes you are. I can't keep everybody's homework on my computer, but at the very least, I can tell you to go in, open up the PDF file in Illustrator and see if it will let you adjust that, or adjust, revamp, reinvent a particular piece with the pieces that it's allowed for you to work better with. So that is the number one reason you guys should find that the most fascinating piece of the course, as to why you name your files with the class number first. Okay, so I now have my binder, which is named, and I'm going to close all of the other files. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look in Finder. We now have in our week 4, our PDF, look at the size of this thing. Do you guys see that? It's almost 90 megabytes. Does anybody know when you would have had to start uploading this file for it to make the Saturday night deadline? When does this need to start uploading? I would say after class tonight. However, there's an easier way. I've got your backs here, because if I have your backs, then I don't get yelled at. We're going to go and we are going to save as other, and we're going to save it as a reduced size PDF. Now, I want to make it compatible with at least 5.0 and later. That way, if I have any clients who are not using the most current, latest and greatest project and tools and inventions by Adobe, that they will still be able to open this. I'm going to replace the one I have. This will take out a lot of the editing features. And if I've got masks, they won't resize it. But now when I go into Finder and I take a look at this thing, pull up my size, I'm still only down to 74.3 megabytes. This, unless you're on a fiber optic internet service, is going to take forever to upload. So then you have the option of right-clicking on it and zipping the file or compressing it. Compress for but even then, we're only losing a megabyte. So I want you guys to be very aware of how you are saving your project, how big it is, and whether or not we need to go in and edit this thing. Because if we needed to edit our document here, we go to edit. Let's see here. Manage my tools. So I'm going to edit my PDF. And if I need to remove an entire page, it's going to let me do that. I can attach a file. I can add an article box. I can remove. So if I want to remove this page, I can right-click on it and hit delete. Page is still there, but now it's the same size as my other pages. I can restrict editing. I can show bounding box. I can combine scanned documents, all in the matter of how we rearrange this. So keep in mind, it is not the end of the world if you have to go in and remove a few pieces. We can actually crop pages so that they will all fit, say, within our document. Okay, I can come over here and crop the extra out of this one. And when I'm done, I just say, okay. I hit enter and say, okay. And then it crops and it gives me the ability to take some of that extra material out of this. But you guys aren't going to have a 95-page document for submission. That's where this comes in. So open my creative brief. Okay, so here I have my creative brief. I want to add a page for my final paper, and I'm just going to reorder this here. And if I had feedback about my logo, I'm going to right-click here, and I'm going to override all master page items. And I'm going to delete that box. I'm going to treat this like it's a letterhead. Plain and simple. So all I have to do then is go to Finder and find my final paper, which I didn't write one, so you guys are probably going to get stuck with some Word document I have in here. Which, do I have anything? Now, these are some very strange things I'm finding in here. That's my daughter's derby name. What I'm trying to do, in case you're just as baffled as I am trying to find a Word document. Got it. And I can drag it over into InDesign just like this. It's going to bring any formatting over that I have. And lucky for me, the Air Force and the Department of the Military has some very fun arranging things. And they all seem to be incapable of understanding tabs. I just don't understand where they're going with this, but whatever. So I'm just going to clean up my information that they're going to be requesting. Yeah, the Air Force likes to confuse me. Oh, which reminds me, it's March. I've got to get a report done. Anyway, I've got all of this wonderful text that came over just simply by dragging and dropping it. I want to format it so that it's got a medium column width, that it falls in line with my design template. I'm using the same fonts throughout, and that my paragraph styles are being applied. So if I have what here is called basic paragraph, if you see this symbol here, that all comes from Microsoft Word. So sometimes it's easier to copy and paste from Word than it is to place from Word. It just gets really confusing really quickly. So I can then take all of my normal, clear off any overrides, double click on it, and I can tell it I need to use Tahoma instead, which is right here. I want to keep my normal at 10 point, and it's going to take care of everything in that head range, that style range. And then I can go through and see where I need to edit in my styles.
What page is this?
This is your body copy for your final paper. This is going to be right after your cover page.
This is the last, is that the last page, or does that come after, before
Ideally,
the logos?
Ideally, you're using it in defense of your opinions on your design strategy. So you want it right after your cover page.
Okay.
It'll go cover page, creative brief, references. Okay, so we've got our paper. You've got your creative brief. All your answers are filled out. Any corrections that needed to be made are going to be taken care of at this point. And then we're going to start adding pages and uploading our pieces. So for this week, or for this mod, I start with week 1. And I can pull this over here. And if I use my arrow keys, no, it's not going to work. It's going to let me do this. Why did it not let me do what I want? I'm going to go to File and Place. If it doesn't work one way, turn around and do it again. It's still telling me. I think that's probably because it's my recovered one. So 209. Okay, so for your assignment, what you need to have for it, you have to have your creative brief, which has your cover page and your references, your recreated logo, your logo with slogan, and this would be the redesign for those of you who did it, your magazine ad, your social media ad, and your final assessment document, which is 500 words minimum. Then you're going to answer these 2 pieces right here. Discuss your process through your design campaign and defend any of the design decisions you've made throughout your campaign. So all in all, you should have between 8 and 10 pages is where you should be sitting at with this. Now, if you can get your logo say I come over here and I
What references? The ones where the budget?
yes, the references from your creative brief and any references that you're using to defend your project, they're going to go into that, be added into the document.
Okay.
Okay, so I've got my logo here copied. I'm going to go place it over here, do a paste. And sometimes, as bad as it is to do this, sometimes this is the best way to get it done and sent off in a timely manner. So I have my logo. Then I'm going to add another page, which I already have right here. And I'm going to add my logo with slogan. And that is going to be put right here. And I'm using my smart guides to tell me when they are centered. And I'm going to put a tagline here. And we'll notice that it's still telling me I've got a little bit of extra space. So my text box is then getting sent down. And I'm going to go back over here. And I did something against the cardinal rule of typography, and I deleted my original. I think this was Helena or something, Sunshine or something. But for contrast, I'm just going to keep this in Tahoma. And I'm going to make it bold. Pointer too bigger. So now I've got my logo. And I'm going to Command X and make sure I have it over here. So it's not looking too terribly terrifying right now, is it?
No, ma'am, it's not.
Okay. I didn't think you guys were going to have too much trouble with this. So I am going to turn this line into outlines, just like I would in Illustrator. And I'm going to make sure it is at the very least the same color. So that I have a fill, and I'm going to turn off my stroke because that's just going to look better and be less distracting. Okay, so now if I turn my preview on, I have a pretty good idea of what I'm looking at. And if I Alt click, Shift Alt click, or is it Command Alt click? Want to override a mask. Shift click. I've forgotten my shortcut, guys. There used to be a way I could do this, and I can't remember what it is. So I'm going to override all my master page items again and just get rid of that so that my logo is showing up with my client in mind instead of my design business in mind. So while I'm deleting my personal information, I'm highlighting the client information. So I have my logo, any updates, plus my tagline or slogan. And then I'm going to add a new page. And at this point, I can create a new master page coming up here, creating a new master. And I'm going to actually create two of those. Master options. So I want based on a master, and it's going to be 2 pages. And what I'm going to do to the A master is I'm just going to come over here and take out my logo. So I'm going to override my master page items and get rid of my dragonfly so that I can now apply my A master to my B master, and I have my basic letterhead. And with that, we get to go into week 2. And this has all the really cool pieces we did from that first week. So I'm going to take these out. You guys are going to pull them from Illustrator or place your Photoshop documents. But I just want these 3. And you know, it would be my luck that I would have forgotten to save something. So don't forget to save your work. So I've got all 3 of my mock-ups. If you guys choose for your final paper, you can put the information as what your thought processes were on your colors, why you arranged your text the way you did, any decorative elements, why are they that way, how did you see them at the time. You can defend them right along with the logo if you think that's taking up too much space. So if you feel like you need to justify something on a page, you can do that versus writing the traditional paper. You know, give it a presentation like you would actually be selling it to a client. I chose the rectangle with the circle coming out of it because I'm putting healthy food in. So it's actually a green pea going into a carrot stick's mouth. It's a cannibal. An accountable cannibal. We wanted to keep the slogan and tagline very simple and to the point, and keep it the same with the logo so that they would work well together. That's the type of reasoning you're going to want to portray when you're doing this paper. Because I got to tell you guys, I'm not going to accept the answer because I thought it was pretty that way. That's what happens when my eldest daughter was 2 and she cleaned the bathroom with bubblegum toothpaste. It's pink, Mommy, it's pretty. Yes, honey, I so really wanted to blow my nose with a handful of toilet paper covered in pink toothpaste. It was all over the light switches and the doorknobs. You couldn't escape from it. So as much as I love the excuse, and it's very cute on a 2-year-old, you guys now know better. Although granted, your instructor occasionally acts like a 2-year-old. Then you wouldn't come to class because you wouldn't have anybody to laugh at. So for those of you out there who are pregnant right now or have just had one, your turn is coming. I pray that you have far more success and more sleepful nights than I did. Okay, so now I have my my promo items. I've got a milk bottle, you know, because we got to have organic soy milk or coconut milk or whatever. And then we've got our shopping bags. We've got our really cool hoodie. And we can put why we chose these pieces. So the next page you're going to put in here is going to be your magazine ad, which is week 3. There's our magazine ad. So I'm just going to bring it over here, and I'm just going to drag until I can drop it. And because I had my promo items all lining up on this edge, means that I'm going to have a better time making sure that this is lined up if I follow that same ideology. So now I've got to do one more page and put my social media banner ad in. So there's my Facebook ad. And I know a couple of you did more than one ad. If you want to add them all here, please do so. I would love for you guys to be able to do that. So if you're noticing that you have an awful lot of white space, it's okay to crop your picture, just like this. And if you hold the Shift and the Command key down while clicking and dragging on the bottom corner, you're going to resize the picture and the bounding box together, and nothing's going to get out of proportion. And then you're going to tell me the reason you chose that particular image in your, you're going to defend your design choices for the social media banner. And if you've got more than one, feel free to use it. I had a couple more turned in today. We're looking awesome, guys. I love giving you guys pats on the back. It makes me feel so good inside. So now that I have my creative brief, got my body copy, creative brief, and I need to put a page right after this for my references. And this is where I'm going to put that body copy in. I can make it as wide or narrow as I want. I just got to remember that I got to keep it readable. And I'm going to use some placeholder text. You guys can see what it looks like. And this is just going to be references. And you guys are going to want to keep in mind that it is still kind of APA formatted. You got to have all the required pieces. They just don't have to be the double-spaced, hanging indents. You can do them if you want to, but I'm not going to require the hanging indent. So there I've got my references. They're mocked up, my creative brief, and my defense. If you're going to put all of your information at each juncture of your paper, you know, put, this is why I did the logo this way. This is what the slogan meant to us.
Does the defense go first?
This is my example of the logo. So whatever logo and tagline you guys did, that's already decided. So when you're reading through it, if it makes sense the way you read it, you're golden. But I would highly suggest, and if I could make it a requirement, I would have you take it to the Writing Center and have them proofread it. Was the reference page the same from the first assignment? Yes, plus any additional references that you're using to back up your choices.
Would that be the first 500 words we wrote?
The first, Lisa, the first set of 500 words was your creative brief and the answers. Okay? This is an additional 500 words defending your design choices.
Oh, I wrote that already.
Okay, are we talking about the week 1 paper?
No, we're talking about the references.
The references are going to be the same ones you used in week 1 and any additional ones you used for week 4.
Okay.
So if you found a really good color reference as to why you chose the colors that you did, I want to see that reference there. That's adding an argument that you're right because this previous master told me this. I chose to go with green because it was reminiscent of fresh food, organics, and you're going to tell me where you found out that green was representing organic foods. That's what I'm talking about. If you found any other references that you're using, not just information you know to be true but can't back up. You got to prove your argument to me, because I'm going to play the client who has absolutely no idea what he's talking about.
Okay.
Okay. And honestly, if you're not hand-holding your client, you should be. They need all the help they can get. Because I have a client who's running for circuit court judge in Oklahoma. Frankly, she has told me, don't make me think. I can't do tech. I can't do design. That's why I have you. I have so much room in my brain for law. There is no room for anything else. And this is why I make her send me a copy of all of her passwords. So sometimes your clients are really that clueless. They're absolutely brilliant in other areas of the world. But if you try to change their phone on them, if you try to change the layout on their keyboard, if you put a rock in their seat on the wrong day, their whole world is going to explode and they're going to take you with them. Like I said, do as I say, not as I've done. I'm sharing my learned principles with you guys before you have to experience them, because you are going to have clients that are that clueless. Which is why we can't go around calling everything a hoomadiggy and a thingamawatchet. We actually have to learn our typography lingo, our design lingo. We have to be able to explain those principles. And if we just start putting out a whole bunch of mnemonic devices and acronyms, they're going to get this look on their face like we're speaking math at them. Like going to the bank to apply for your first home loan, or heaven forbid, ever navigating through FOSTA by yourself. There's a whole lot of things out there we're brilliant at, but they can do better than we can. And this is one area in the business world where we get to shine. We're not just the crazy art kid with the pencil in their hands anymore. We're not the computer geek that's hiding behind a computer screen. We're the expert that they're paying for advice. And if that doesn't make your head swell and make you proud of yourself, it should. I know my brother works for the Supreme Court in Oklahoma as an IT, and he has flat out told me judges should not be allowed to use their own computers. They don't have enough common sense to do it. They've actually called him to find out why they can't turn their computer on when it's already on. Or why on earth did that coffee cup holder that comes out of the machine break the first time they put coffee in it? Or they spell DOTCOM instead of USSupremeCourt.com using a period. And I know there has to be at least one out there who thinks a slash of a knife and the slash on your keyboard are the same thing. So I want you guys to keep in mind that we have a design firm. We are firm in our principles, we are firm in our guidelines, and we're firm about holding and making, keeping our word with our clients. Just like doctors practice on us and lawyers practice on us, we're going to be firm with them and do what's in their own good for their business. And we're going to keep them on the right track with the right information. It's an ethics thing. It's a good job thing. And it's a tangible piece of evidence that you know what you're doing when they send somebody your way for more work. Because word of mouth advertising is going to take you a whole lot further as a freelance artist than almost any paid advertisement you do. Save maybe social media. There's a lot of bang for your buck in social media. But a bad word will kill more clients than a good word will any day. And there are months where that extra logo here and there, that pays out the grocery bill for teenagers. And since one of them's hollow, I'm pretty sure I'm going to need to be finding some more work this month. And it's only the first. So anybody have any questions over how to save this? Because we're going to go in and I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to go to File. We're going to save our PDF. And I'm going to make sure I'm in my 209 folder, because I've got to be ultra organized here. And I'm going to make sure it does have the same naming convention that I want, that we played with in Adobe Acrobat. We're about 15 minutes out, I know, and I'm going to hurry up and do this so we can get out of here. So I've saved it. I'm going to go to File, Adobe PDF Presets. Now I have some presets that were set, but one of them is apparently missing. So I'm going to hit Press Quality. I'm going to say use Press Quality because Press Quality is going to allow you to keep the integrity of your image in your PDF. Don't need to do a package file this time. So I'm just going to replace the one we did. I'm not going to tell it spreads. I just want the pages. I want to view my PDF after exporting. Don't need any compression. I'm not going to use marks and bleeds on this one. I don't have any hyperlinks, but you can include the hyperlinks. And you can save that preset for the next time you want to use it. So I've got it saving for compatibility for Adobe PDF 1.4. I think all readers can now read that one. So I'm going to export it. I don't really need this font right now, so it's okay. Close that one. And into week 4. And there is our PDF file. So I've got about 10 pages altogether. And if you get an error message, remember if you have another file that you're overwriting that's open, you might want to close it first. So we're just going to take a quick look through. References, logo and slogan, promo items, magazine ad, social media banner, and then you'll have that defense. So when I close this and I go into Finder and look at it, I'm down to 4.5 megabytes now versus 75 to 85. Kind of why I like this one so much. Doing it this way makes me feel more cohesive in my design theory. Makes me feel like I'm using all those principles I've spent so much time and money learning. And it makes me feel more professional. Now, there are other instructors who are going to tell you that they like it the other way. And that's when you follow their directions because they're the client that mod. So if you're still finding that this is taking too long to open, you can go ahead and compress it, but it's not going to change much from 4.5 to 4.3. I can open it and go to save as a reduced file size. And I can click 4.0, replace it, and then I can take a look. Now I'm down to 1.9 if I save it and save as reduced file size. So any other questions, guys? Okay, Zeke. And as long as my voice holds out on Saturday, I will be in the Student Success Center until 3. But DJ comes in after that, and I think Wanda and Bill will be in the evening. So they're each going to know a different way of packaging this or saving as a PDF. So if you tell them I'm supposed to do it one way, no, you guys are pretty free to do it your own way as long as you get to the same endpoint with the right amount of pieces. So I'm not going to count off if yours is done in Adobe Acrobat DC versus InDesign and then exported. You will notice a vast difference in the file sizes that I'm not going to take off your grade because it doesn't specify. It just says a multi-page PDF. So I think at the most you're going to have 16 pages if you put each promo piece on its own page versus 8 to 10 pages. And I will post the PowerPoint about the advanced composition principles with the lecture tonight, just in case you guys might need that for the week 4 assessment. And don't forget to do your career integration quiz and treat it like it's a job interview where you tell me privately that you have an issue with the course and think I need some help. You're giving me a professional critique in an email versus what you would actually say during a job interview. So keep it positive, nothing negative, unless it's something you guys really think I need to work on and practice with. Then you can email me, or your FPA is not going to count against your grade. It only counts your grade against your grade because it's in the directions on the career integration quiz. I know some of you have already got it done, and I'm working on getting those graded as we go through. So I kind of want to sleep in on Sunday. So all late work. There is no late work Saturday night. Can't accept it. Other than that, I think we're done for the day. And feel free to come by and see me Saturday from 9 to 3, or shoot me an email and let me know if you have any issues. Otherwise, you guys have done a great job this month, and I'm very proud of all of you.